Time now to connect the dots when we make the news make sense. Well, we all know Macy's is known for its large and extravagant stores, but this new experiment is opening doors for some strip malls.
Macy's could be moving to more smaller stores soon. Let's connect the dots. For years, Macy's giant stores have lost the attraction of many shoppers. Folks have been headed out of big malls and into online shopping and those smaller stores. And now the company is looking to refresh its look. So the new stores will be smaller and located in strip malls. These sites will also frequently swap out merchandise. In an experiment, Macy's smaller storefronts outperformed its giant counterparts, also outperforming during the holidays. The new stores will open in the fall with locations in Boston, Las Vegas, and San Diego. The new stores will keep the same name, Macy's. So far, the company plans to continue to roll out stores through 2025. And that's connecting the dots.
Well, it is now 5:39, and of course we're asking, where's the money? Now this time we're breaking down a report from Forbes. It outlines some of the jobs that are most vulnerable to artificial intelligence. So first, just outlining what AI can do, this technology can type up a simple college essay to actually generate code for computer programs. So in terms of jobs, data from Goldman Sachs estimates around 300 million jobs could at least be affected by AI. It means 18% of work globally could actually turn and be automated. Now, the report also predicts 2/3 of jobs in both the U.S. and Europe are exposed to some degree of AI automation. Now, that puts about 1/4 of all jobs at least a chance of being able to be performed by AI entirely. Now, taking it closer to home, as for who is at risk, well, researchers from the University of Pennsylvania and OpenAI found this. Some educated white-collar workers earning up to about $80,000 a year are the most likely to be affected by workforce automation. As for the jobs that are a bit more protected from AI, well, that's jobs like agriculture, mining, manufacturing. That's why we're asking this morning, what laws, if any, do you want to see on artificial intelligence? Make sure you text us 704-329-3600.
All right, Kia, thank you.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
Beautiful day, so many people helping. This is incredible.
Let's spread that love tonight.
Here is a $5,000 check that you guys can use to further the mission.
There is nothing on earth like the feeling of giving back with your hands.
$5,000 to you and Block Love Charlotte for what you guys do.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make-a-difference now.
It's back to school season across the country, and this year some teachers say technology is forcing them to change the way they teach.
Artificial intelligence is already in the classroom.
Each teacher has some help in the classroom with the agent as a support.
A recent study by the Walton Family Foundation says more than 60% of teachers use AI to help them at work. Experts say there are a lot of ways AI can help teachers.
Automatic assessment tools that can give teachers feedback in terms of where students are, what kind of concepts might be struggling with, and how they can tailor the instruction to meet the needs of students from different backgrounds.
But some teachers are weary of the way students might use the technology.
One big thing is about AI bias and ethics because AI, at least currently, they're most built on training data that have been generated by someone from some perspective.
That means because we don't know where the AI is getting some of the information, it could give students wrong information. But experts say it's important people learn how to use this tool instead of banning it.
No matter whether we ban it or not, students know it, teachers know it, parents know it. They can use that in some way. We should make that transparent and make that a discussion.
But AI's evolution isn't the only technology schools today have to worry about navigating. Recently, we've seen a very alarming rise in schools being the victims of cyber attacks. In 2022, nearly 2,000 schools were hit by cyber attacks, almost double what we saw in 2021.
I think one of the things that many people don't understand is that how much schools rely on technology today.
And an all too familiar problem puts thousands of schools at even more of a risk.
School districts are challenged with resources. They don't always have enough money to put in place the protections they need to put in place or to have on staff cybersecurity expertise to protect them.
These attacks can set schools back decades.
They're also scam school districts out of millions of dollars, or may cause damages that require millions of dollars of new investments.
You know, I think some people here in our newsroom, myself included, we've tinkered a little bit with the AI chat since we've talked about it so much, just to see like while I can see how helpful it could be in some cases, in other areas it's like, write my paper for me. Here's the information. So,
but a lot of times that info is wrong. So hopefully, I mean, teachers are able to, you know, pick up on it. Not that they don't have enough on their plates.
I think there is a software that they're trying to use that will detect was this written by AI or not.
There are more than 200 magnet public schools in North Carolina. These are schools that offer specialized courses of study that are not available in the regular schools. But when it comes to getting these kids to these magnet schools, well, the districts need to provide transportation. It's why Wake Up Charlotte's Megan Bragg is verifying.
According to the Public School Review, more than 161,000 students will attend magnet public schools in North Carolina. And these students will sometimes have to travel farther to get to those schools. So we're looking at whether school districts are responsible for getting them there. Here's our question. Are schools required to transport students who are attending a magnet school? Let's verify.
Our sources, Tom Miner, operations specialist at Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools and North Carolina Law. When it comes to transportation in North Carolina, state law does not require schools to provide transportation. The decision to provide transportation or not is up to each school district. And according to the law, some factors that school boards can take into consideration are the availability of funding, the distance a student lives from the school, and the safety of walking or biking to school. The law also states if a student is assigned to a school but the district cannot provide transportation to that student, the district can assign them to another school unless their guardian wants to keep them in that original school and provide their own transportation.
We work with families and students as best as we can.
Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools covers more than 30,000 bus stops throughout the county, but CMS tells us if a student has expressed an intent to ride and there is a bus service to the school they are zoned for or for the magnet school they attend, they will be transported.
A lot of that routing happens over the summer. Families can always submit an alternative stop request on our website.
So we can verify that no, schools are not required to transport students who attend magnet schools. However, many school districts like CMS will work hard to find a way to get students where they need to go. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
As always, solid storytelling from Megan there. If you want something verified, just make sure you email us at verify@wcnc.com.
Verify, WCNC Charlotte.
Verify is all about trying to make a difference in the community by making sure that the community has the correct information. This is what we know, and hey, this is what we don't know. Sometimes you're actually surprised by the answer.
Verify the difference.
Verify is a great way to combat that misinformation, making sure that people know the process of the reporting.
Tonight, though, a Charlotte woman is hoping to raise money and awareness for the Maui Humane Society following the deadly wildfires there. WCNC Charlotte's Kia Murray has the story.
They need money. They need supplies.
Charlottean Samantha Ahrens is working to make a difference for thousands of animals in Hawaii. The former Hawaii resident is teaming up with the Maui Humane Society to bring awareness to the growing need in the wake of those devastating wildfires.
Being, so isolated out there in the Pacific Ocean, it's easy to feel just so alone in a time like this. And I think it would just be a really great message to say, like, hey, even though we're just this small city in North Carolina that's like an entire ocean and an entire continent away from you, like, we understand your community's suffering, we care about you, and, we want to help.
Ahrens is raising money on her personal Instagram page. She's been regularly talking to the Humane Society about what they need. Money is the most helpful, but they do have an Amazon wish list where you can send them necessary supplies.
They're really only starting the process, or have been starting the process in the last few days, of trying to identify pets and reunite pets with their owners.
The Maui Humane Society estimates there are over 3,000 missing pets in the Lahaina area. They add more than 1,000 lost animal reports have already been filed.
It is not going to be just like a 1 week or 2 week crisis. It's going to be months and months. And of course it's going to overwhelm their shelter space.
And that's why Aaron's is hopeful folks right here in Charlotte can help make a difference for people and pets in need.
Giving people who have literally just lost everything the chance to be reunited with their pets is like a gift of a lifetime right now.
I'm Kia Murray, WCNC Charlotte.
If you want to make a difference for the Maui Humane Society, we have links where you can donate inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app.
Yeah, there's so many different ways for folks to give.
Welcome back. Ready to smile? At 11 years old, you might not know what you want to do with the rest of your life. I know I didn't, but this little girl does. Hannah Roo, that is her. She definitely knows.
Yeah, her goal is to inspire others to reach for their dreams. As you can see, she is living one of her dreams here. WCNC Charlotte's Sarah French takes a look at how this young dancer is making a difference and motivating others along the way.
Well, I would want people to know that even though I look different, I'm just like you.
So Hannah is a spunky 11-year-old.
Hannah's mom, Katie, says her daughter was born missing both legs as well as part of one arm.
When we first found out, it was a big shock. But we had the whole pregnancy to kind of go through all those emotions.
And her mom says after Hannah was born, they never looked back.
We didn't think anything was going to stop her.
With the love and support from her family, Hannah took off. From baseball to soccer, gymnastics, and cheer, Hannah did it all. But dance became her passion.
I feel like dance is like a stress reliever because sometimes after school I'll have like a stressful day and then I'll come to dance that night and just like let all my feelings and emotions out, and I forget about everything around me and I'm just like in the moment.
At Steps in Motion Dance Studio, Hannah says she feels at home.
I'll just like imagine me like almost like in the future, just like dancing on like stage or something. I want to be an amazing dancer.
Hannah's mom said when they first called Steps, they weren't sure how it would all play out.
When we first called up and let them know about her, we kind of didn't say a whole lot because we're like, she's very independent. This is her body. She was born a little different and has prosthetics, and we'll just kind of see where it goes.
And when Hannah joined new classes, she was fine with questions from the other kids.
Everyone's curious, and like people haven't seen me before, so I just want everyone to know that like I'm fine talking about my body. It doesn't make me uncomfortable or anything, and I accept all questions.
Hannah is working on walking in her full leg prosthetics as well. But for now, she's comfortable just like this.
She's definitely in her element when she's on stage. Hannah, when she's dancing, she's in her own world, and I can see her just dance away everyday stresses of the world. I see every emotion just come out and just pure happiness. And that's, as a mom, the best thing to see. She's taught me just to be yourself. That's been, I think, the most important thing with her.
It doesn't matter if you're different or not. And I know sometimes things can be hard because it's like life can be completely different, but just don't let that bring you down, and to always remember that you're different and that's fine. It's perfect, perfectly fine.
Hannah encourages all of us to embrace what makes us unique, pursuing your passions along the way. For WCNC Charlotte, I'm Sarah French.
Time now for a check of the weather as we go to that first day for school for CMS students. They might need to pack an umbrella.
Yes, not just for the first day, Jane, perhaps the entire first week, at least through Wednesday, maybe Thursday, still a little hit or miss. We're going to dive into that in just a second.
All right, very, very busy there.
Yes, and speaking of busy, we're tracking Idalia tonight, and it is showing better organization and a much stronger system tonight based on the 11 p.m. advisory. We're getting some stronger wind gusts, and also we now have a hurricane watch in effect for the west coast of Florida. This is in anticipation of the storm moving in the Gulf of Mexico on the west side of the Florida Peninsula, and this could have some impacts right along the coast of Florida. That's why this hurricane watch is in effect. Typically, this goes into effect about 48 hours before those impacts are caused along this area. Here's a look right now at the latest data coming in. We have 60-mile-per-hour winds earlier this evening. Those winds were around 45 miles an hour. remaining stationary. So you can see it here trying to make its way through the Yucatan Peninsula, through the channel here, moving into the Gulf of Mexico. Then it's likely to pick up forward speed, but right now that forward speed is pretty much stationary at this time, and we'll continue to watch it. Notice how it could rapidly intensify and turn into a Category 1, perhaps even a Category 2 before it makes landfall. Conditions are certainly favorable for the storm to develop, and notice how it could hug right along the coast of Georgia and the Carolinas, and primarily right along, say, South and North Carolina coastline. That could bring some significant coastal impacts. We're talking about flooding and also some of those larger swells right along the coast, and have some impacts on our area beaches. Here's what's happening in the short term. We have this stationary front, so even before we get any tropical weather, it's going to continue to feel like we have a tropical system overhead, because we're going to have waves of showers, as was the case for today, and the ongoing rainfall will continue to add to the rainfall totals. In addition to that, we'll have some flooding concerns out there. So the flooding could be problematic as we move into the middle of the week. As we have those ongoing showers for tonight, we could pick up an additional 2 to 4 inches of rainfall before we get a tropical system. So here's an outlook over the next 5 days. So Monday, we're looking at another chance for showers and thunderstorms. Tuesday, those chances will go up. By Wednesday into Thursday, this is that timeline we're honing in on to have some impacts coming in from Idalia, but that's all going to be contingent upon where it actually tracks. So if it's tracking closer to the coast, then that'll take some of that rainfall along with it. But bear in mind, when it comes to a low pressure system, a lot of that moisture is going to be on the north side, and that's where we are when it comes to that system moving up the coast. Out the door for tomorrow morning, the kids are likely in bed at this time, so if you have to make any changes, last minute changes to the wardrobe tomorrow, we'll have a little drizzle early on, perhaps a few pockets of showers out there, cloudy skies, and temperatures in the low and mid 70s, so a warm start, but it could be a little wet and foggy in some spots for tomorrow morning. By 3 p.m., we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds, and we can face more afternoon and evening storms. This will be the case as you see it here with the Guy Roof and 7-day forecast. The biggest takeaway from the 7-day forecast, temperatures. 84 for tomorrow afternoon, the same for Tuesday. And by Wednesday, we could be as low as 78 and 75 by Thursday. The Labor Day weekend looks to be a nice one. Sunny skies and warmer temperatures.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me, because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
New at 11, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper officially designating August 26th as statewide Women's Equality Day. This day also the 50th anniversary of the commemoration of the National Women's Equality Day and the passage of the 19th Amendment of the United States, granting some women in America the right to vote. WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker takes us inside a woman-owned small business and shares how that owner says anything is possible.
For Samantha Allen,
get rocking and rolling.
Getting to this spot wasn't a piece of cake.
I never thought I would get this just far.
Allen is the owner and lead baker of Wentworth and Finn Bakery in Charlotte.
We are a bootstrap business, so it's certainly not easy because I have no investors. It's all me.
But aside from the typical challenges of starting a business, she says it was made more difficult as a woman.
I've definitely had comments and actions that have happened in the kitchens that I've worked in where it either made me incredibly angry and I wanted to try harder to surpass them, or it made me want to just prove them wrong.
Allen says the restaurant industry is a male-dominated field, so getting her foot in the door was challenging. The National Restaurant Association says females have lower representation in the back of the house. 1 in 5 chefs and 1 in 3 cooks are female.
Here we are.
Saying representation is important.
If anyone who is younger, who aspires to be a pastry chef or business owners, sees that it's possible without having to be backed by whoever it is. Like, you can do it.
A reminder of all the steps taken to get here today.
It was everything.
But Alan's saying there's still a lot more work left.
Funding for especially women-owned small businesses are not as great as they could be. So I would really love to see us to be able to be funded a little bit more.
So others like Alan can have their cake and eat it too.
Those are delightful.
In Charlotte, Austin Walker, WCNC Charlotte.
Almost always means those back to school photos. But first, we want to make sure that we're sharing some tips from the Child Rescue Coalition about ways you can share these pictures while keeping your family safe. Now, specifically, you want to be careful about what's in these pictures. Make sure your post avoids certain details like sharing the name of your kid's school and the teacher. So schools have these websites that sometimes list addresses and other teacher information that can tell people exactly what room your kid is in. So you definitely want to keep your teachers' names out. Now, it's also a good idea not to share what your kids' favorite foods or hobbies are. It could actually give predators information on how to gain trust or pretend to be their friend. Now, these are just a couple of tips that we got from experts, but as you share those photos, try to think of how any of this information in your posts might be used against you. This way you can keep sharing, but do so safely. And this morning, we want to see those back to school photos, of course, safely, without that information that we just mentioned there. Make sure you text them in at 704-329-3600. County schools aren't the only school districts that are talking about banning books.
CMS is changing how books are selected and removed in schools. Let's connect the dots. Some parents are pushing school districts to ban books focusing on race, history, and sexuality. Now, one of the biggest school districts in the state is listening to their concerns. Tonight, a school board could approve a plan that gives parents the power to review all textbooks in person. It's part of a growing trend across the country. In a recent report, PEN America recorded more book bans during the fall of 2022 than in each of the prior 2 semesters. But the movement is largely driven by a vocal minority. Another 2022 poll actually found that over 70% of parents oppose banning books. And that's connecting the dots.
Time now is 6:14 on this Wednesday morning, and of course we're asking, where's the money? Now, for those on the lookout for a new job, we're breaking down the numbers showing pay for new hires is going down. Before, employers struggled to fill open spots as many results of the pandemic, but that is starting to change. So the Wall Street Journal took a look at the 20,000 jobs that were posted on ZipRecruiter, showing average pay for most roles went down. At least 2 industries saw the deepest salary dives. That's transportation and technology. Although it's important to note, businesses in these categories could be making up for big hiring pushes that they made last year and in 2021. Meanwhile, the Department of Labor says wage growth peaked last summer. Since then, though, it's dropped by about 6%. And even more data, this time coming from researchers out of a firm called Gusto, shows pay rates for new hires are 5% lower than this time last year. Now, when it comes to the people in jobs that are most effective, well, pay rates for engineers and developers dropped 18% in just the past year. It's why we're asking this morning, what is your top negotiating tip? Make sure you text us 704-329-3600.
Wake up to the news that matters most with meteorologist and traffic reporter Chris Mulcahy.
And we're all clear. We're keeping you smarter, safer, and on time.
Start your day the Mulcahy way. See the difference. 4:30 to 7 on WCNC Charlotte.
To school season across the country, and students are not the only ones feeling anxious. I spoke to a local therapist about advice for parents sending their kids back to the classroom.
Back to school time can be stressful for kids, but also parents. Psychotherapist Mike Harris says trying to juggle schedules for parents is overwhelming.
So I think that parents, they get overwhelmed because as much as they wanted the school year to start, they still have to get organized and they have to figure out, okay, how are we going to coordinate our schedules? How are we going to, make everything come together logistically in a way that really makes sense? And that can be really overwhelming. It's a lot to coordinate and it can be really stressful. So I think that parents really need to stop and figure out how they can organize and not wait until the last minute.
And even though this can be a busy time, Harris says make sure you're staying on top of your kids' social media activity.
We want to make sure that there are content filters, that there are different strategies in the home to be set up so kids can't access certain things, because sometimes it's just too much information for their brains, right? It's just too much, too fast, too early. So we want to make sure that we're filtering. But also we want to give kids the opportunity to be exposed to things, and we want to be present so we can have those conversations and explain. Because if they get curious about something, they are going to want to know. They're going to ask Google, they're going to ask their friends, they're going to ask someone. And so we want to make sure that we're there to put some of that information into context.
Harris also says not to push aside your child's concerns or